The scene. It all starts with a word, and of the word there is one in particular to consider. And, only if you have a mind to, consider as you will a scene. And as it is with all scenes, I invite you to give thought also to the dimensions of the scene. For within those dimensions is the very essence of all scenes. Come now and bring your palette of thought, your melting pot of ideas, as we view the scene. The forest. The forest is a dimension of the scene. There are many pathways, and yet only one road visible above the canopy of trees. The forest has size, length, breadth, and a density of trees. All the trees are tall and pencil thin and reaching for the light. The forest has depth and height. The forest has spatial physical dimensions. The forest also has a temperature. The trees are a dimension of the forest. They have their own dimensions, both of size and of temperature. There are birds living in the trees and flying through the forest. The earth. The earth is a dimension of the scene. The trees stand rooted in the earth. The earth supports them. The earth has many dimensions, including richness, temperature, and density. The earth has a resonance, such that if a sensitive hand touches it, both the hand can feel the vibration of the earth, and the earth can feel the touch of the hand. Each of them is alive, each of them still sharing a part of the other when the touch ceases. The birds are supported by the earth. The sun. The sun is a dimension of the scene. The sun is warmth and light. It ebbs and flows in strength and intensity as it passes through its daily cycle. The sun is life, is alive, and brings life to the air, earth, and forest, and everything living within the forest. The air. The air moves through the forest, flowing in, around, and amongst the trees. The air is another dimension of the scene. The air has temperature and humidity. The air has the rate and nature of motion through the dimensions of the forest. It flows, it rushes, swirls, rises and falls. The dimension of humidity changes as the air interacts with the trees as it passes by them. Visible vapors form, and the air and all its manifold movements and nuances can be seen by the naked eye. The air is an essential dimension for the birds. Sound. There is much sound. There is the sound of the air as it moves this way and that, the sound of trees as they interact with the air and the sun. There is the sound of an immense silence of the earth as it holds the trees. There is the sound of the birds as they communicate with each other, and the audible beating of their wings against the air as it supports their patterns of flight. There is atmosphere. The forest is alive, and there is a harmony, a resonance of all the many dimensions present. There, amidst all the diurnal permanence of the sun, the earth and its resonance, the air and its motion and sound, there exists what at first appeared described as the forest. Whatever nature of forest may be there for each and every viewer who witnesses the scene, everything is all part of a vast number of interpretations of the scene, some realized and some, as yet, unrealized. Of spirit. And yet, in the midst of all the harmony, all the form, all the physical dimensions of land, trees, birds, air, earth and sun, there is another dimension yet to be mentioned. This is a formless dimension without measure, above and beyond the physical, without attributes. This is the spiritual dimension, and it is the final element that goes to make up the scene. We cannot suppose that the scene does not have a spiritual dimension, for behind, above, below, around, and within such a detailed description of the physical nature of the scene, there has to be something else. As there is silence amongst sound, and as silence is actually sound, the sound of stillness, then we would do well to understand that spirit, like sound, is everywhere. It is there as a permanence within every scene, as with the that we hear is not all of the sound, likewise that we perceive as spirit is not all of the spirit. All that is physical nature is placed within a vast spiritual dimension, and that the form of nature sits within the formlessness of the spiritual dimension. And now that the scene is set, the story can begin. And it can begin only now that there is an understanding of the scene in all its dimensions, all its glory. For if the story was to be told without a semblance of understanding about the scene, then the story would have meaning only in the context of the words. The story. It all starts with the scene, and of the scene there are participants and characters in particular to introduce. And, only if you have a mind to, consider as you will the two most important participants in the story. For, as it is with all stories, while the characters populate the narrative of the story, the narrator and the listener are the true dimensions of the story, And within those dimensions is the very essence of all stories. You and I are about to set out on a journey. Our partnership on this journey is not just one of narrator and listener, or author and reader. It is also one of guide and traveller, of deliverer and interpreter, of interpreter and recipient. We are not in the story, and yet we are the story. Come now, and bring your palette of thought, your melting pot of ideas, as we view the next part of the story.